Good morning, children. December the 14th. There is no such thing as good or bad luck. Everything has a cause that produces appropriate effect. There you go, cause and effect. One of my favorite topics. There are a few absolutes in life. Virtually any action you take can have an effect upon yourself and others that may be either good or bad, positive or negative, depending upon the circumstances. An act that is perfectly appropriate in one setting, for example, might be totally inappropriate at a different time and place. Well, I'm the king of that, so amen. Whether you have good or bad luck depends far more upon your reaction to circumstances than to the circumstances themselves. W. Clement Stone, and we all know and love W. Clement Stone, has often said that a positive mental attitude is the attitude that is appropriate under the circumstance. It is a can-do attitude that manifests itself in positive action, which almost always generates positive results. At least he threw the almost always in there, like he's not bragging anymore. When you take action in a spirit of positive achievement, your luck will be good, even if the results are not what you expected or initially desired. Positive action always, eventually, creates positive results. Well, there's that whole, if you don't quit, you can't lose thing. So, yeah, that's true. You make your own luck. I mean, that's what he's saying, and I agree. Whether you have good luck or bad luck depends far more upon your reaction to circumstances than circumstances. So how you deal with it is huge. I agree 100%. That there is no such thing as good or bad luck, I disagree. Because I've seen a lot in my life, and some of it is just good luck. I used to really be big into fantasy football. More coffee. I don't play it as much anymore. I'm still in a couple of leagues that are what they call dynasty leagues or keeper leagues, where I have the same players that I had last year. That's obviously more challenging. That's more like real football. And being 12 hours ahead over here, obviously, and not having, the stuff I used to have. I mean, even when I didn't have NFL Sunday Ticket, which I had for many years, and no, I didn't pay for it because I'm a cheap bastard, you could game DirecTV by calling up after a year and saying, I'm going to move to cable or to Dish Network, their competitor, and they would give you NFL Sunday Ticket, a $200-something package for free to stay. I used to work, remember I mentioned I met Mike Smithgill working for AOL in a retention call center. Retention is somebody's calling to cancel, they route you to the retention call center, and you're going to get salesmen who are trying to talk you into staying. And we're allowed to give certain packages to keep them. The joke about what Mike and I and 20 some odd other people were doing was, oh my God, I should have slept longer, sorry. At the time, AOL was selling dial-up internet, the squawky modem and all that. If you remember internet in its infancy, it was dial-up, it was super slow. And they were charging $24 a month for it, and they had a huge base. Mostly, as time went on, mostly older people, right? People in their 40s, 50s, 60s were the customer base, because the young bucks got onto the high-speed train as soon as it came. So at that point, AOL recognized the writing on the wall. They knew that it was going high speed and not the dial-up modem. And they invested into a company partnership with High something. I don't even remember what year that was. It was a long time ago. Can't believe I've known Mike that long. It's over 10 years. I think it was before 2010, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, our job was to keep these poor people on dial-up for $24 a month when AOL was selling a better product faster for $14.95 a month. So we were allowed only after we couldn't save them, right, and keep them on the $24.95 a month dole to move them over to high speed as a last result, not to lose them. And I had more than one customer say, like, why didn't you just offer me that? I've been a customer for 7 years, paid my bill every month, and I'm like, good point. I couldn't argue with him. He was right. They should have just offered all their customers upgrades just to keep them as customers, but they wanted that $10 a month. That's how corporations think. You're a commodity, and corporations, politicians, big pharma, they all want to wring every last little drop of money out of you they can get. That's their philosophy. That's how they work. I think it's fucking evil, but it is what it is. It's out there. Recognize it. Understand it. So usually we give them a month or two free at $24, but knowing that they would pay the next 10 months or a year. So you can game them. You can call them up and get free months for a long time before they finally cut you off and make, because they just want your money. But because they want your money and they're greedy, like DirecTV, I was able to get NFL Sunday Ticket free for probably 7 or 8 years, simply by calling up and saying cancel my subscription, when I had no intent to cancel, because I liked watching my TV. I was a big movies and sports, right? That's what I watched. So anyway, I don't have access to that anymore. And even when I didn't have that Sunday Ticket, they would show local sports on CBS or NBC or Fox. I was always able to get at least the Jaguar game in Jacksonville, although that was painful to watch many, many times. So there got to be a point in the 2000s when, I'd watch the Jag game and just close my eyes and shake my head and drink Mountain Dew and eat hot dogs and chips. But really what I was looking forward to was the other game. So if the Jaguars played at 1 o'clock, there'd be another game on after at 4. And sometimes the two channels were competing. Like there'd be one game on Fox and one game on CBS, AFC and NFC, so you can go back and forth and watch different games. I watched the Patriots, good football, because the Jags weren't putting out good football. The Saints, they were one of my favorite teams. So I got a couple of additional teams because the Jaguars were so terrible and there was like no chance of them making the playoffs. Kind of like now, this year. I think they've won one game so far. Because, even the one game they screwed up so that they can't get the first pick in the draft. They can't even do that right. They can't even suck right. That's how bad the Jaguars are. So they fired the general manager. Hopefully they'll get a decent guy in there who has a clue and not stay with him for 10 years if he doesn't have a clue like the last one. So in fantasy football, I had a team that was first in the league in scoring points. And very simply, when your player makes a touchdown, makes a catch, runs for yards, throws a touchdown, if he's a quarterback, you get points. And the guy you're playing has his team and he gets points. Whoever has the most points for that week wins. It's pretty simple. So you set your lineup, you move players out who are hurt or have an off week, bye week they call it. You have two quarterbacks, you figure out who has the better matchup, who you think is going to score more points that week, and then you let it ride. And sometimes bad luck happens where, all your players or 3 or 4 of your core players have a bad week. They just, football players have ups and downs like everybody else. They don't always crush it. They don't always have great weeks. Some weeks you'll get lucky, right, the good luck, and they'll score 50 frigging points, which is like crazy. Normally they score 10 or 20, and that wins you that week. You got lucky. Some weeks you get unlucky, and your stud guy who's averaging 20 points a week steady, Michael Thomas from the Saints, one of my favorite players, wide receiver, young wide receiver from the Saints. He used to be the most consistent guy in football and the number one wide receiver as far as points in fantasy every week. This year, he got hurt. He scored 5 points in the first game instead of his average of 20. Got hurt, came back, only scored 5 points again, wasn't quite right. Got in trouble with the coach and sat out a game. So he's like, I don't know, the 150th or 200th ranked wide receiver this year, and normally he's number one. Normally he's a top 5 wide receiver. That's just bad luck. It's a crazy year, COVID, in and out. Maybe he wants more money, this, that, the other thing, but the bottom line is he's produced like a guy who you would get off the waiver wire and not like a number 1 draft pick, stud, number 1 wide receiver. It's just bad luck. You didn't do anything wrong as a manager. Shit happens, especially in football, especially in 2020. But in past years too, I had a team that scored the most points, but I just happened to play a bunch of other players who had their best weeks. Like I talked about the one guy going off and getting 50 points when the rest of the season he never scores 50 again. They just happened to have those games against me. So when you looked at the league standings, I had the most points scored, but I had the most points against scored. So as a result, I lost like 5 games in a row or something, and I didn't make the playoffs, even though my team every week put up more points than any other team. Should have won, but I didn't, because every week you have that individual matchup, and I'd lose by 12 points or lose by 4 points, but I'd lose. Each guy was putting up his season high against my team, and they don't know who the hell I am. I'm just Grago. I'm just a name up there, and they're just a name. But it just so happened that they scored more than me the week they played me. And then, one guy was what we call a dead team. He wasn't even making roster moves. He wasn't adjusting his roster. And he beat me, with like 2 players missing. Why? Because 3 of his players went off. It just, that week it happened. Every other team would beat that guy, because usually in a close game, if you're not setting your roster and putting players up and taking zeros, the guys get hurt or they're suspended or whatever, especially as the year goes on, you're going to beat that team. It's usually very easy to beat a dead team, and the guy outscored me, 10 points. So it was a combination of 3 of his guys who weren't hurt and weren't, because he didn't touch his roster. He didn't make any moves at all. He's not playing anymore. He gave up. So 3 of his guys went off, plus 3 or 4 of my guys didn't perform. My team was supposed to score 140 points, and they scored 120. His team was supposed to score 80 points because it was a dead team, and it scored like 130. So shit happens. And if you don't think that happens in life too, you're sniffing sunshine and rainbows. So his point, and it's a valid one, and I agree 100%, is a lot of times you create a better situation for yourself through positive mental attitude and, more importantly, not quitting. So when the going gets tough, if you give up, well, you lost. The going gets tough, you grind it out, eventually you'll win if you just keep grinding. So amen to that, 100%. Sometimes you'll do everything right, like in the fantasy football, and you'll still lose. But did I play the next week? Did I play the next year? Yeah. I didn't give up because I got some bad luck, right? It sucks. I was like, fuck, I should have been in the playoffs. But oh well. There's always next year in football. There's always tomorrow, next week, and next month in real life. So that's it for today, guys. Don't know the temperature. Pretty warm, obviously. No shirt. Her pajamas came in last night. Remember I told you she's been shivering every morning. So while I've been a good boyfriend and been a space heater for her, she's only feeling that warmth when we're right up against each other. When she comes out of the shower, she's cold. When she wakes up in the morning, she's cold. And as much as I'd like to be attached to her 24/7, that's not practical. So I got her fluffy flannel, cottony pajamas. So if she had made an appearance, I would have had her model them for you. They're brown with little white stripes and something that says sleep something and sparkly letters on it. So she's warm finally. The frigid 60, 64, 68 degree temperatures that have been making her teeth chatter are being dealt with for the time being. We got the big comforter. She got her big fluffy pajamas. She got her coat shipped to her from Pak Jong, the big overcoat, winter coat I sent up. When we walk at night, like last night, it was 68, and I'm loving it. I'm in my sandals, I'm in my shorts, I'm in a regular t-shirt or a polo shirt, and it's great weather. I'm super, super happy. And she is literally, cold, 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 68 degrees. Thai people do not like, I won't even say cold weather. To me, cold weather is 30 and 40s. 60 is not cold weather. Thai people don't like fall and spring weather, and those happen to be my two favorite seasons of the year. Summer gets too hot for me, winter gets too cold for me, but I love the spring and the fall, which is about what it is now, 68 to 74 degrees. Drop down to the high 50s, low 60s at night, or in first thing in the morning. I'm okay with that. So that's it for today. I got the singer lined up. I'll do a Great White Buddha video on the singer. It's a guy who sings Neil Diamond songs, a Thai guy who sings Neil Diamond songs. Sweet Caroline, ba ba ba. So I'll do a video of him performing Friday night and Saturday night, 6 to 8, 2 hours each night. We're just trying to get something started here, just trying to get it rolling, trying to infuse some customers, sell some beer, sell some wings, sell some French fries. So that's happening. Today is Monday, and that's going to happen this Friday night. So once again, 4 or 5 days from now, you'll see a Great White Buddha video on the entertainment at the Pie Sausage House, and that'll be a regular thing. It looks like next summer they're finally going to open the place up for good. March and April are the low seasons, right? That's when nobody comes. It's hot as balls. The farmers are up in the hills making smoke, burning crops. Thailand, as great as it is right now, October, November, December, January, sucks in March, April, May. There's high season and low season, and when the country will fully be open will be low season. Go figure. So sometime probably around my birthday, end of July or August, is when I'll build the deck, and then we'll have bands instead of just acoustic singers. And we're going to do something called the Sunset Celebration, celebrate the sunset like they do in Key West, right? That's where I got the idea from. And, just once again, sell alcohol and snacks. I got the snack menu. Also, I haven't printed it yet because we don't have a deck. But I got everything all ready to go, just waiting for the friggin' tourists to come back. So that's it for today. So in the meantime, what I'm saying is, because that's all not going to happen until next summer. We're going to Bang Sane in 2 weeks, and while I'm down there, I'm probably going to go ahead and rent a space. I found 3 or 4. They're not near the university. Pisses me off. There's nothing open there because it's such a good spot. So it is what it is. I can't be patient at this point. I can't wait anymore. So I'm just going to get a space, 10, 15,000 baht, which is $300 to $500 a month. Very low rent compared to this friggin' behemoth. And over 2,000 square feet. Plenty of room to hang 100 guitars. And I'll start the build out, and I'll start throwing money at it. And Samurai Music of Chiang Mai will be up and running sometime in January, February, as fast as I can get it going. And it sucks that I'm missing the Christmas rush, retail, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to go ahead with it. And I'll do a couple of videos from that. We're going to have a grand opening, like I said, with models and stuff like that. It'll be a big thing, giving away food, hot dogs, whatever. So stand by. It's happening, kiddies.